Deep in the Judean desert, where the barren limestone cliffs meet the dead, salt-crusted waters of the lowest point on Earth, a discovery was made that shook the foundations of biblical scholarship. In 1947, a young Bedouin shepherded through a stone into a dark, narrow cave opening, hearing the unexpected sound of shattering pottery. Inside those jars lay ancient leather and papyrus scrolls, preserved by the arid desert air for over 2,000 years. Among the recognizable words of the Hebrew Bible were other, stranger texts, scrolls that read like scripture, filled with familiar patriarchal names, yet entirely absent from the modern Bibles sitting on bookshelves today. For centuries, readers of the Old Testament have stumbled upon cryptic clues left in the text itself, mentions of mysterious, lost volumes like the Book of Jasher. Why would books referenced by biblical authors themselves seemingly vanish from the pages of history? Were they deliberately suppressed, buried by ancient gatekeepers, or did they simply fade away in the shifting tides of time? The truth behind why the books of Jasher and Jubilees are missing from the Bible is not a tale of dark conspiracies, but a far more fascinating journey into how humans, history, and faith collided to shape the most influential library of books in human history. To understand this mystery, we must first travel back to the turbulent centuries before the dawn of the Common Era, a time when Jewish identity was being fiercely contested under the shadow of foreign empires. It was in this vibrant, highly literary culture that the Book of Jubilees was born. Written around the 2nd century BCE, likely by a priestly scribe during the volatile Maccabean period, Jubilees presents itself as a secret revelation given to Moses on Mount Sinai by an angel of the presence. It retells the history of the world from creation to the Exodus, but with a radical twist. It divides all of human history into neat, mathematically precise 49-year periods, the Jubilees from which it takes its name. If you are fascinated by these hidden corners of biblical history, take a moment to subscribe and join us as we uncover more secrets of the ancient world. While Jubilees claims an ancient origin, mainstream scholars recognize it as a product of its time, a defensive literary shield designed to protect Jewish customs from the creeping influence of Greek culture. The book heavily emphasizes strict adherence to the Sabbath, dietary laws, and a unique 364-day solar calendar, completely distinct from the lunar calendar used by the mainstream temple priesthood in Jerusalem. The story of the Book of Jasher, however, takes a completely different historical path. Unlike Jubilees, which survives in ancient manuscripts, the Book of Jasher is a phantom text. In the canonical books of Joshua and 2 Samuel, the biblical writers explicitly cite a source called *Sefer HaYasher*, translated as the Book of the Upright or Book of the Just. The biblical author asks, is this not written in the Book of Jasher? As if appealing to a well-known, authoritative national archive. Yet, the original book mentioned in those verses has been entirely lost to antiquity. No copy of the ancient Book of Jasher exists today. What we do have under that name are medieval Jewish texts, most notably a Hebrew midrash, or interpretive commentary, published in Venice in 1625. This medieval Jasher is a beautifully written, sweeping epic that expands on the stories of Genesis and Exodus, filling in gaps with dramatic legendary lore, but scholars universally agree it was written over 1,000 years after the biblical period. Before we dive deeper into how these texts were treated by ancient communities, tell us in the comments below, had you ever heard of the Book of Jasher or Jubilees before today? Despite their differing origins, both texts held profound significance for specific ancient communities. The Book of Jubilees was not merely a fringe writing, it was a highly cherished piece of literature. When archaeologists unraveled the Dead Sea Scrolls at Qumran, they discovered no fewer than 15 copies of Jubilees written in the original Hebrew. This was the library of the Essenes, a radical, apocalyptic Jewish sect that had broken away from the Jerusalem temple. To them, Jubilees was inspired scripture, a divine confirmation of their solar calendar and their separation from what they viewed as a corrupt religious establishment. Far to the south, across the Red Sea, another community embraced the text. The Beta Israel, the ancient Jewish community of Ethiopia, alongside the Ethiopian Orthodox Christian Church, adopted Jubilees into their official biblical collections, naming it the *Mashaf Kufel*, or the Book of Division. For them, the text preserved an essential layer of divine history. So, How did books so deeply revered by ancient communities end up excluded from the Standard Bible? The answer lies in the slow, organic, and complex historical process known as canonization. The word canon comes from an ancient Greek ruler or measuring rod. It refers to the standard list of books a religious community recognizes as uniquely authoritative. Contrary to popular myths popularized by modern fiction, the biblical canon was not decided in a single, secretive meeting by a handful of powerful bishops or rabbis locking books away in a vault. It was a centuries-long consensus that grew from the ground up. Ancient religious leaders used several critical touchstones to evaluate whether a text belonged in the sacred library. First was the criteria of antiquity and authorship. Was the book written during the age of the prophets or apostles, and could it be linked to a recognized, divinely inspired figure? Second was orthodoxy. Did the teachings of the book align perfectly with the core theological truths already accepted by the community? Third was widespread use. Was the book being read and utilized by the vast majority of congregations over generations, or was it only popular among a localized group? Finally, historical reliability played a massive role. When ancient Jewish scholars and early Christian leaders applied these measures, both Jasher and Jubilees faced insurmountable hurdles. In the case of the original Book of Jasher, it simply ceased to exist. By the time Jewish authorities were formalizing the Hebrew Bible around the end of the 1st century CE, the ancient scroll of Jasher had already slipped into the shadows of lost history. As for the medieval Book of Jasher we possess today, it was recognized immediately by scholars as a much later composition, disqualifying it entirely from biblical consideration based on its age. Jubilees faced a different challenge. While it was deeply popular among the isolated Essene community at Qumran, it never achieved widespread acceptance among the broader Jewish diaspora or the mainstream Pharisaic tradition that would shape Rabbinic Judaism. Its hyper-strict legal interpretations and its insistence on a solar calendar threatened to fracture Jewish unity at a time when the destruction of the Jerusalem Temple made unity a matter of cultural survival. Pause for a moment and share your thoughts below. Do you think a book's popularity should determine its place in sacred tradition? Or should age and theological consistency be the only standards? Furthermore, early Christian leaders, as they began distinguishing their scriptures from Jewish texts, largely viewed Jubilees as a sectarian document deeply preoccupied with internal Jewish legal disputes rather than the universal message of the gospel. Consequently, the book was omitted from the developing Christian canons of both Western and Eastern churches, surviving only in the isolated, independent tradition of the Ethiopian Church, which valued its detailed chronological frameworks. The exclusion of these books from the modern biblical canon has given rise to countless myths and misconceptions. A common misunderstanding is that these books were removed or deleted from the Bible by a deliberate decree of the Church. In reality, you cannot remove a book that was never universally inside the collection to begin with. Both Jasher and Jubilees were part of a vast, swirling sea of ancient religious literature known as the pseudepigrapha, writings falsely attributed to ancient figures, and the apocrypha. They were external texts that orbited the sacred center of Scripture, appreciated by some, rejected by others, but ultimately left on the outside as the boundaries of the biblical canon solidified. Looking at different global traditions today reveals that the concept of the Bible is not uniform. A modern Protestant Bible contains 66 books, a Catholic Bible contains 73, an Eastern Orthodox Bible includes even more, and the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church possesses an expansive canon of 81 books, proudly including the Book of Jubilees. These variations are not evidence of a sinister cover-up, but rather a reflection of the rich, diverse historical paths taken by different Christian and Jewish communities across the millennia. The stories of Jasher and Jubilees leave us with a profound sense of wonder about the preservation of human thought. They remind us that behind the familiar pages of the modern Bible lies a vast, forgotten ocean of ancient voices, debates, and hidden histories. Though they may not be counted as canonical scripture in the majority of world traditions, these missing books remain invaluable windows into the human soul, capturing the anxieties, the faith, and the desperate search for divine order in a chaotic and rapidly changing ancient world. They challenge us to look past the surface of the text and ask ourselves, how many other ancient voices are still waiting out there in the desert sands, waiting to be found?